No, they're still there, but unsurprisingly, the meats fell off again. So, we'll start with the trout. If you want to get a stick to kind of uncover the things. Trout, yeah, trout's about the same. I really don't think it's going to change. Well, actually, the hole looks a little more collapsed. Like, it looks a bit kind of more collapsed right here. But otherwise, it looks generally the same. So I think the structural integrity might be weakening on the fish. But otherwise, kind of the same.
I'm actually, like, split.
Oh, yeah. So the lamb kind of split apart, which makes sense considering that, well, it was mostly eaten apart, especially on the inside, yesterday. So I guess when it fell, kind of just ripped it apart. Coloration, I don't know. It looks a bit, maybe a bit reddish or maybe a bit blackish. But the coloration looks a bit different. Overall, not too different. The fat string looks the same. I don't notice a whole lot more of it being eaten, but I'd probably need to flip it over. There's definitely still maggot growth, and it's still kind of on the insides of it, like you can see it there, and there's definitely some over there. But I don't notice huge changes to it. It did fall, and it did split, which definitely indicates that it's structurally, has weak structural integrity, but overall it doesn't look too different. Okay, there's a smell as well now. Well, still, really. The chicken definitely looks weaker, because, like, this whole part here, looks collapsed. Like, I think the maggots have eaten the entire meat there, or at least the vast majority of it, because it just, honestly, it looks like pretty much all that's left is the skin and the bones, maybe a bit of meat, but the maggots have seemed to have eaten it pretty intently. In fact, there seems to be less maggots. Some of them might be covered up, of course.
Yeah, I think they might all be underneath right now.
That's possible. But I remember yesterday when we lifted up the plate, there were a ton of maggots on there.
Yeah.
So it's possible maybe some of the maggots have left or died or became flies, although I don't know how quickly they can transform into them. So it's possible, but there seem to be less maggots, which could be an indicator that there is in fact less meat there. Mm-hmm. Oh, here's one of the steaks. Oh, wow. Right. I was wrong. So we never flipped over the steaks. We should have now, I guess, because there's a ton of maggots on the steaks. You know, they were just all underneath it. Like, they were pretty well underneath it. They weren't really on the top or anything, but no, they're pretty much just all underneath it, like eating the insides. Coloration of the by the way, coloration of the chicken doesn't look a whole lot different. It's still that gray, brownish, sickly color. Coloration of the steak, maybe a bit blacker. It's hard to kind of tell, because the main thing I'm noticing is all the maggots just on the underside of it. Oh, wow, they actually...
I think they're eating through it.
No, I don't think they're eating through it, but they're definitely causing a dent, and they'll probably get through pretty soon.
Yeah.
And we also have, I noticed this over here, which I think actually might also be steak.
Yeah.
Then it's the other steak. So yeah, the maggots are definitely eating on the inside, because you can kind of tell it looks hairy. And I'm pretty sure those are just the very few parts the maggots haven't eaten. So yeah, the maggots are definitely burrowing through the meats. Alright, so we picked the meat up again. I think at a certain point we're going to kind of just have to stop doing this. But now for the poking tests.
It's a lot squishier.
Squishier?
This is starting to go, I think.
Okay, so I was right. I was probably right. The structural integrity does seem to be weakening then.
Yeah.
Okay, which I guess the bacteria is finally getting to it.
Yeah, this is just squishy all around.
Which is probably mainly from the cavities in it.
Yeah.
And not so much the meat being squishy.
Yeah. Ooh.
Well, I guess it actually makes sense for the meat to be squishy if the fish is squishy. So
yeah.
the meat might in fact just be squishy.
And then, ooh, the skin.
Well, this just seems like mostly skin.
Yeah.
Like skin stretched on bones. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of meat to it.
Yeah, definitely just skin on bone. If I'm touching anything, it's just a bunch of maggots.
Okay, yeah. Because you can definitely see the maggots writhing underneath it like they were yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's a nice appearance or look. Yeah, now look at how much the maggots have eaten the inside. So how is that? Is that just like...
It's kind of like chicken wire.
Oh, is that rigid? That's interesting.
A little bit on some parts, but overall just kind of very brittle hair.
Oh, okay. Which is kind of what it looks like, really.
Yeah. And then this is squishy. It could also be that,
The underneath,
yeah,
because it was eaten definitely. Because we flipped it when we put it back up, we flipped it back over, and so it could be definitely
yeah.
they've eaten the underneath, and so the steak itself might just naturally harden as the bacteria gets to it, but the maggots eat away the inside, so it becomes squishy.
That's interesting seeing the differences between this piece of steak and this one.
Yeah,
What the hell?
yeah, it's gonna be like one's got set up and the other's upside down, pretty much. Yeah, so there's not a whole lot of meat left to really, except for the trout. But in general, there's not a whole lot of meat left to really analyze, so the rigidity is kind of in question. A lot of the squishiness is probably just from the fact that there's not much there. But yeah, so it's kind of interesting. Also, notice, we do have some few big maggots, like that guy right there, which is now under the steak. But yeah, maggots are definitely eating away a lot of the meat. Alright, so lastly, smell. Well, I guess not lastly. One thing is smell. I noticed a bit of a trout. There was the still overarching fish smell, though it seems to have weakened. Although it could be have gotten used to it. But I doubt that a little bit. I think it's just a bit weaker. I didn't notice as much of a poop smell when I got close to the chicken, although that could be the fact that it fell, and it also has rain, so that could have actually washed away some of the poop, because it definitely rained last night. It's actually kind of raining a bit now. Sprinkling, really, but... So, that could have actually washed away some of the poop, and so there's not really a poop smell. Interestingly, I don't notice any rotting smell. It could be that that's only a thing when an animal just dies, and like has some gases in its body, and hasn't died and then been like prepared with chemicals and whatnot. But there really has not been a rotting smell to it, which is strange. Weather overall, though, it's cloudy, and well, as I mentioned, it's starting to rain a bit, and there's almost no flies, although it is also starting to rain, so it could kind of make sense that the flies are just like, hey, let's nope out of here, it's raining too much. So, I don't know if the cloudiness has anything to do with it, but the rain definitely probably has something to do with it. Also, I noticed the steak moving a bit. So, it was also pointed out to me that a possible reason the meats keep falling is because the maggots are moving it. Now, I was a little skeptical on it, because the meat seemed kind of heavy, and the maggots seemed to have kind of random motion, like there wasn't a net momentum that would cause it to fall. But no, this steak is definitely noticeably oscillating. I don't know if you can tell as much on the camera, but I can definitely tell it's oscillating. So that could actually have caused the meats to kind of jostle then off the table. So it probably wasn't rain, because that seems... The rain could have added slipperiness that could have helped it fall. But it was probably the maggots jostling. And it probably also wasn't animals, because it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for animals to just knock it down and not even give it a bite, I would expect. If they're going to go through the trouble of getting it down here, they'd try biting it. So it was probably the maggots just jostling the ground, with the added effect of the rain making it slippery so it could easily slide off. Which means that, of course, it also explains why the trout hasn't fallen off, but it also makes it very likely that all the meats will fall off tomorrow. And at a certain point, might have to just kind of stop picking them up, although I don't know about that. Anyways, hope you enjoyed it, and see you tomorrow.